Hey everybody, welcome to Gotta Get Up to Get Down East. Today we're talking with Justin Grove of Old Line Marine, and Egan is with us. He'll sit down here in a minute.
Yep.
And
Getting some props.
So where you going? All right. So today I thought we'd talk with Justin, who's here by FaceTime, and thought we'd talk about the upcoming boating season and kind of things that people might run into as they prepare their boat, commission the boat for getting it ready. Egan's here. Egan.
Folks.
So, things that people might find when they are getting their boat ready for the season, and some advice, tips, and tricks about, addressing those items so that they can keep from delaying their boating season, because we have a short one. I think we have longer than most, but everybody's itching to get back on the water. So kind of long-winded intro. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, Justin, and Old Line Marine? And
So,
go ahead.
I'm Justin Grove. Company is Old Line Marine, and started the company about 4 years ago. And we work on mostly gas engines, electrical, electronics. We do bottom painting and all the maintenance items as well. Coming up into the boating season, some of the main things to make sure that are right before, if your boat's on the hard, before you go back in the water, would be, anodes, and make sure your underwater metal is painted and protected before the boat goes back in. And another thing is batteries. It's a major thing in the spring. Everybody lets their batteries sit over the winter and then go to put them in the water, and, it's not charged, or if it's a lead acid battery, it's, old, and they really don't last very long. Manufacturers still on them, say 2 to 3 years on a lead acid battery. So,
Is that the most common battery?
yeah, lead acid, yeah. An AGM battery has a lot longer life expectancy of somewhere around 6 years, but it comes with a higher price tag. So in some boats, people want to go a less expensive option and change them more often. So people would go a lead acid battery instead of AGM.
End up being cheaper in the long run?
No, it's less money up front, but
Right.
you're changing them, or hoping you don't have to change them, after 3 years. But anything past that, you're kind of on borrowed time.
Can't see us all.
Well, I thought it'd be
You guys
better
are in
to
the dark
see
now.
Justin better.
We're two shadows.
Yeah, you guys are in the dark. But you need that campfire you had last week.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll work.
All right.
There you go.
There
You
you
got
go.
something there. Now it looks like a campfire. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
There, we dialed it down a little bit. I think it was hard to see you on the YouTube.
Trickle charging if the boats are on the hard, right?
Yeah, definitely
and
trying
so-
to get a charge on them. A lot of these smart chargers now, they'll go through and actually check the battery, and they can determine what kind of battery it is and charge it to the charging profile that it actually should be charged
Right, so
at.
do you offer that service to these people, some kind of charging system?
Well,
Like a solar
we
or
offer,
something? If they-
No, we offer battery chargers that can be installed on the vessel. But as far as like a service to come charge batteries, we don't really offer that. But if we're commissioning the boat and the batteries are weak, we put a charger on them and charge them.
Yeah.
So,
And they only and lead acid only takes so many charges before they're no good.
yeah, and once they're fully discharged, it actually does damage to the internal battery.
Yeah.
Like where an AGM, it doesn't. An AGM actually can be dropped all the way down to completely dead and recharge without damage being caused to the battery.
So, like, how many cycles can you do that?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but a lot on an AGM versus a lead acid can only do that so many times before it actually will
So
need.
it would seem
Every time it would happen on a lead acid, it would do permanent damage to the battery.
right. Well, even like a solar trickle charges people that are on the hard, there's no electric to those boats. Would that help these batteries stay?
Sometimes, but the output of the solar chargers isn't very much. So like if you actually had a dead battery,
Right.
And
Not for a
yes.
dead battery, but I mean, you have it, once you put it on the hard, you hook that shit up. Oops, sorry. And so I didn't mean that. You hook the solar up and it would trickle charge just enough amp, 1 amp a day or whatever.
If it was a fully charged battery,
Right.
and you just wanted to keep it like maintained,
Yeah.
that would work. That would work for that purpose.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that may be something else you might think about.
Yeah.
Unless you like selling batteries.
Of course, I like selling batteries. I like selling batteries.
No, sell them a good one though.
Yeah. No, I always try to offer both.
Right.
Kind of let them decide what they want. Tell them the advantages and disadvantages of both.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, operating a boat is a costly venture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last thing you want to do though is go somewhere
Mm.
and then try to restart your boat and it doesn't start, and
Yeah.
it's all because of a battery.
Exactly.
It's really important in the springtime to make sure those things are good to go.
Yeah.
Same with very minimum, like basic maintenance, like impellers and things like that. That's one of those things that it's such an inexpensive part. You should
Yep.
really change them every year, otherwise you're kind of asking for a problem.
And the impeller went bad on what the
58
was
C ring
58. Yep.
on the generator.
On the generator, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a bad
Yeah.
one, and that's a stupid little.
Yeah, a
Plastic part.
$20 part.
Yeah.
So-
that's with all these inboard engines and generators. They all have these little impellers in them that, if they're not replaced, some manufacturers will say every year, some others will say every other year.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's.
That's an easy thing that a DIYer could do.
Oh yeah. Some of the big ones on the diesels are tough, but on the generators and things like that, yeah, they're pretty easy.
Yeah.
And they make them easy to get to on all these boats too, because it is a common item that you need to change.
It's
I'm
called,
going to say that, but not all of them. Not all of them are easy to get to though.
This is a term that was coined by Ford, Henry Ford.
Yep.
And it was called, and it applies to what you're working with engines. It's called articulating obsolescence. Really,
Yeah.
that part is going to wear out in so many, cycles or whatever, and it's going to need replacement. So you have to have the infrastructure to make the replacement parts, because they're going to go, and guys like Justin there is going to need them for all the motors he's on, right?
Yeah.
And stupid little parts like that.
Oh yeah.
So
Some people make aftermarkets and things like that, but you always try to use the OEM
Sure.
just because it's exactly what you need.
You know
You're
it's going to fit.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping and guessing if you use the aftermarket. So definitely always want everything OEM. We try to, that's what we try to do is only use OEM parts. So
You have a problem getting parts?
yeah, this past year has been pretty tough. We've had one guy who needed a seawater pump, and it took him 3 months.
Damn.
And he tried going aftermarket routes and things like that, and he did get an aftermarket pump, but it only lasted 6 weeks. And then we ended up finally getting it after 3 months. But that was just one example. We've had a hard time this past year, and even now, Yamaha parts are really hard to come by.
What? Because they're popular, or they're just not making them fast enough?
I don't know exactly what the issues are. Some of the Garmin electronics are really hard to come by. I have a couple autopilots and radars on order, and every week they say, maybe next week, next week. Supposedly it's a shipping issue, and they're coming by ship instead of air. So, from Japan, it's a long hike, but when they do come in, they're going to be in large batches. It's just a matter of when.
Right.
So, see if I can turn some light on out here too. There we go.
nice. Looks like you're in a little Arizona room there. Little screened-in porch.
Yeah, little screened-in porch. With my crab eating table.
And beer drinking. Are you drinking a Brooklyn lager?
Yeah, no, I'm not drinking a Brooklyn. I'm drinking a Sam Adams Cold Snap.
Oh, that's right. You showed us the label.
Yeah.
Cold Snap.
Yeah, try to get some spring vibes going, right?
Yeah, we're drinking the seasonal, the latest seasonal from New York,
You are?
the Blue Ribbon Pabst.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
It's a fancy.
Special original blend.
Yes, PBRs. You can't go wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about the upcoming boating season. You know, everybody's selling boats. They're selling boats faster than they can get them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of new boaters in the industry, and I think it's an opportunity to get people excited about it, and people who haven't boated in the past to open them up to recreational boating and the fun that it can be. You know,
You get a lot of word of mouth from boaters to new boaters saying use you guys.
Yeah, we have a lot of that.
That's good.
You know, we have a really good customer base. I have some really amazing customers that I've had. I have one customer who I've been working on his boat for 20 years.
Wow.
So it wasn't just with Old Line Marine, but you build relationships with these guys, and they
Sure.
they have friends.
trust
They
you.
have
It's hard to find a good
family,
mechanic.
and they recommend you to their friends and family, and
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
it's awesome. So
That's great.
sometimes somebody will call and they'll they don't tell you where they got your information from, and you go out and you work on their boat, and then later you find out, oh, they were a recommendation from this guy to
Sure.
So yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're going to do well. Is keep your. You don't have to advertise because once you get a
Yeah.
base, right? And
Yeah,
your friends
unfortunately,
say, "Oh yeah, I know this guy can fix that."
yeah. The only problem with that is, it's me and the partner Dave, and we have a helper, but it's just three of us. And
Yeah. You
Right
don't
now,
take on too much work.
we're at max capacity until we hire somebody else. We have an ad out, so if anybody out there knows anybody that has a mechanical background, it definitely could use somebody. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Well, we've known each other for quite some time. Ever since I first came here, and then you branched out on your own, and it's
Yeah.
really cool to see as busy as you guys are. And I know that every customer that I've ever talked to that I've given you a project, asked you to help on a project, they've all been super pleased, and your communication and your professionalism acumen really comes through, and it's a pleasure to work with you and Dave. So I think it's important to be able to trust the people you work with, because lines of communication are not awesome. It's not the easiest to be wrenching on a boat and take phone calls.
Yeah.
You guys seem to do that really well. What's your secret?
That's I'll say that's one of the things that we should definitely strive for. It's it's challenging, but I think that's where a lack of communication can go wrong on so many levels. If people try to avoid conversations and things like that, it just just by telling a customer, oh, it's going to be what day you think it's going to be, and then when that day comes, if it's not done, before that point, you let them know. I think open communication is probably key to everything. Return phone calls. You have somebody that calls you and leaves you a message, give them a call back. It's the lack of communication in any industry is what gives it a bad name. So,
You do really well with that. Do you find that you have a lot of repeat clients already?
Yeah. Mainly, I would say a good part of our, everyday work is repeat customers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And again, we have people that I worked on from before I started the business to now that, every year, we commission their boat, they're setting up their winterization date. We winterize their boat, they're setting up their commission date. And we have a revolving calendar that way. So it's kind of nice to know, going into spring,
But you're all set up.
some of your workload already.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of lets you know too where you can take new customers on, and right now we're not taking any new customers at the moment because we have a lot going on. We're trying to move into another facility, and we actually have we're trying to just take care of all our existing customers at the moment because they're our primary concern at the moment.
Yep.
I mean, growing a business and taking more customers is always a concern, but right now I just want to focus on taking care of our pre-existing customers before I take on any more and neglect anybody. So.
Understood. That's a great game plan. Build a base.
Yeah, it's tough to do that though because you always want to fix everybody's boat and try to help as many people as you can with it, but it's tough telling somebody no, you can't work on their boat, but then again, it's kind of trying to take care of your pre-existing customers and at least taking care of them the way you think they should be taken care of.
Yeah. So what sort of projects could we talk about that are going to be instantly or immediately discovered as people decommission their boats and de-wrap them, unwrap them? What are some of the things about batteries that you can kind of point to as a way that here's some opportunities that you know of that you see frequently that are pretty easy to do and could be done on a DIY basis?
Well, some of the things, like if your boat's shrunk wrapped, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the wrap off, and more than likely you're going to have mildew, some kind of mildew, a little bit. And there's some Starbright products that are great for those if it's on upholstery or vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Just spray it on, let it sit, and then end up wiping it off. But that way you can kill those like mildew spores and things like that before it spreads or comes back. Sunlight will do great for it as well. If you can use some of that cleaner and then leave it open for the sun to shine on it, that'll work as well. Some other things, once you're getting in the boat, you got to start commissioning the systems. And if you commission your own systems, flushing the fresh water is a really important one. You just basically need to run it until you get no pink, no smell of antifreeze or stagnant water or anything. And there's actually some treatment that's sold as well that you can add to the fresh water to get it to last a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just, for one example, as far as turning that water over multiple times, because otherwise, when you leave it sit for a little bit, it's going to get stagnant and nasty again. So.
Cool. What if you get to your boat and launch it and it doesn't start?
The first thing would be a battery. Is the battery charged? From sitting over winter, there's not too many things that are going to happen as far as not starting besides a battery. There's the oddball things like a starter or ignition switch or a start solenoid or something like that. But usually that's not the case.
Well, is it fueled? Do you put stabilizers in the fuel before you winterize them?
Anytime somebody's winterizing, that should be part of their treatment as far as before winterizing the engine is running actual fuel treatment, a Sta-Bil, a Startron, a BioBoard if it's diesel or something like that through the fuel.
Right.
Good practice too, if it wasn't done at the wintertime, would be replace fuel filters.
Right.
That way if there was any kind of condensation or water in the filter before winter, if it wasn't changed, you can get it out of there now before you run it into the engine.
Right. So you got batteries, fuel. That would probably be it, right?
Fuel filters.
Or electronics.
Well,
electronics is a big one that, if your electronics are outdated, they can really change your boating experience. You go from an old antiquated electronics to one of these new chart plotters that draws you a path of wherever you want to go through all your markers. A auto route. They'll tell you your actual anticipated arrival time somewhere.
Right.
It can really change your boating experience from, a lack of confidence to the confidence to go anywhere at any time and not have to worry about it so much.
Right on.
So you recommend more Garmin systems than others?
I would say for the average boater, the Garmin system would probably be the way that I would kind of push them. I feel like they're probably one of the easiest, if not the easiest, to navigate through and use and try to figure out. For the fishermen, some of the fishermen prefer, a Simrad or a Lowrance or, something else. But as far as an all-around good unit for fishing or navigating, I feel like Garmin's the way to go.
You're good on fishing, huh?
Yep.
Most of the backhooves and sabers, we put Garmin on because it is so user friendly, and usually people have had Garmin before, so then it's one less thing to have to learn when you have a new boat.
Yeah, it's an easy transition if it's
Right.
something they've already used.
Yep.
And I've had people that buy brand new boats that have had Garmin in the past, and now they buy a boat with a Simrad or something and want to change it out.
Is that right?
Even though it's brand new electronics, just because they're used to something, And don't get me wrong, like the Simrad and Raymarines, they're nice as well, and some of them do more than a Garmin will. I just feel like the Garmin's so user friendly, and to actually figure out how to do things is the easiest, out of any manufacturer.
So if someone has a boat with Raymarine, fairly new Raymarine system, is there any sort of credit program that, you can sell those systems, or a company will buy them?
No, not off the top of my head. I don't know of any program like that, but they do offer, certain times a year, mail-in rebates and things like that on electronics. But it's not really a trade-in program. It would be just like a discount. Usually during boat shows, they'll do some kind of mail-in rebate discounts. And the Bay Bridge show's coming up. I think they're actually having it this year in April, from what I've heard.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's on. It's on for sure. We'll have a couple boats there.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we're launching our new brand, Limestone, built in Knoxville.
Yeah, that's exciting. I actually looked at the brochure, and some of those boats are really nice looking.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice brand. They're just like any boat. They're not cheap, but if they're well built, then there's value there.
Yeah, you can sell value. You can sell quality, and price if the quality's there,
Yeah,
So,
for the
yeah.
first boat, and then the second boat, if there's good support.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are they powered with?
Yamahas or
Yeah, it looked like
Suzuki's,
Yamaha's what I
yeah.
saw.
yeah. Speaking of
Did they have
outboards, speaking of
Did they have
outboards,
options for brands, or was it just strictly Yamaha? Because a lot of times they'll do like they'll be power matched, and then they kind of sign a contract with Yamaha that they're only going to put Yamahas on there. But do you know what their plan is?
I don't. I think it's smart to not have to sell an outboard along with a new brand. Put a known brand on the swim platform, to run the boat, as opposed to having to sell the power package along with this boat brand.
Yeah, I agree. You'll never hear somebody say, "I don't want that Yamaha."
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
never.
You'll hear manufacturers say that because Yamaha doesn't sell
Yeah.
to manufacturers. They have to go through a dealer, and not all dealers are capable of walking the line of wholesale and consumer. Manufacturing and then consumer. So, and their product is very expensive.
Yeah,
in
they're
comparison.
more expensive than the others, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Everybody always says you get what you pay for, and it's not just the same.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
speaking of outboards, so
You guys work on those too?
yeah,
We do.
yeah, you work on a lot of outboards, Yamahas.
We do a lot of outboard work, especially in the past, I feel like, the whole boating industry is going that route. Besides, big boats that need diesel power, I really feel like a gas inboard, or gas stern drive soon is going to be, something you don't see that often. I mean, it's already trending that way.
Yeah, well, you can see the advantages of the outboards. You can trim them all the way up, especially when we're in these shallow areas, right? And you can get it out of the water, probably easier to winterize, for one.
Yep.
And you have more boats, interior boat space with the thing on the outside. The only thing you sacrifice, I guess, is your swim platform.
Yeah, and I think that it really is part of the market that the inboard stern drive boat still has, or inboard ski boat is
Right.
using that full swim platform transom for boarding and water sports.
For Mastercraft and Chris Crafts and all those.
Yeah. Chaparral, Cobalt,
Yeah.
all those guys are still doing stern drives, and they're water sport based boats.
Right.
That you still, and I actually, you're even seeing outboards with full swim platforms. They're tucking up under the platform and things like that. So even the manufacturers who you wouldn't think you'd see an outboard on are putting outboards on them, and you don't even know they're outboard boats unless you really get into them.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. They're covering them basically like almost like a trunk.
Right.
And the outboards are up underneath there. So.
Egan and I had a chance to run the new Batco 39.0 in Charleston a couple months ago, and it changes that size boat. It certainly was fast.
And
we were doing 45
and
knots.
The thing about it like that, you can turn on a dime of those outboards.
Yeah.
When you got a couple of them in the back.
Yeah.
What was
The
it,
only
four of them?
There was three. Yep.
Yeah. Three.
triples on that.
Yeah.
The only downfall that I'll say from an outboard to a diesel power boat in that range is dock maneuverability. You put the outboards in gear,
Yep.
and the boat doesn't move.
Yeah.
You got to give it some kind of throttle or thrust
Mm-hmm.
for thrust. Where a diesel, you bump it in gear and the boat moves.
Exactly.
So, but
Yeah.
the performance is, without a doubt, with the outboards as far as performance and cruising and things like that, they're wonderful. The only thing I think you give up a little bit is that dock maneuverability.
Yeah. Well, didn't that come with a bow thruster?
Yeah, and a joystick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that helps mitigate some of that disadvantage there, but certainly doesn't have the torque that a diesel offers.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Suzuki outboard that has twin props? You feel like it's a little bit better?
I really do. I think that makes a big difference. A dual prop is something that Volvo and Mercruiser have been doing for a long time, and and it works. I mean, it does a lot of things for you. It gets the boat on plane faster. It keeps the boat in a straight line. I think they took the technology from the torpedoes and from the Navy. I think that's where they got the technology from, and more fuel efficiency, more thrust in and out of gear. I think there's a lot of advantages to it, and I'm still kind of surprised that it's only Suzuki in the outboard class that's doing it. Especially when all the stern drive manufacturers are doing it and still doing it, and it's proven.
Right.
Method to their madness and why they would do it, but
Well, Yamaha probably feels like they don't have to change.
Well, Yamaha had a dual prop in the 90s. They had a two-stroke outboard with a dual prop on it, and they didn't offer it very long. A lot of bass boats had it on there that I saw. I've only seen honestly in person too ever, but they did it for a couple of years and got away from it. So I don't know what the reasoning behind it was or why they got away from it, but obviously something there, right?
reliability somewhere. But
Yeah.
why you don't stick with something that works?
Yeah.
Something wrong with manufacturing or assembly or whatever.
I know probably 10 years ago or so, I'd say Yamaha had probably 80% of the outboard market. But now, You know, some other manufacturers are getting in there, like Suzuki. Suzuki's taking a chunk of that away. So, and they're building a good outboard too.
Well, we read about the diesel outboard. Have you worked on that?
No, I haven't. No.
Cox
No,
Mechanical, they show up to boat shows with a pair, and apparently there's not many around. But I remember I think I told you this story once, actually in Charleston, talking about Charleston again, gosh, probably 12 years ago. And it was at that marina on the Mount Pleasant side that, I forget the name of the marina, but where the aircraft carrier is. And I was walking the dock, and I go down there at the end, and there's a bunch of Cummins guys working on an outboard engine. And I was like, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" They were like, "Nothing." And it was a diesel outboard. So I think there are diesel companies that have them and have them designed and have kind of been working with that for some time, but for some reason they're not coming to market.
Yeah, I know the military has had, diesel outboards and multi-fuel outboards for a long time. Where they can burn pretty much any kind of fuel there is and submerge the engines and, have ports that pump them out and all this stuff. Like, they have some crazy stuff. But actually in the, recreational boating, I personally have never seen a diesel outboard. I know Volvo, after buying Seven Marine, I don't know if they'll ever try to get into the diesel outboard, but yeah, I guess
Maybe.
time will tell, right?
Maybe. So the other outboard player that is making some waves is Mercury. Mercury is an established name, but over the last 10 years, they've probably lost the outboard battle to Yamaha.
Yeah, I'd agree. But on the newer stuff that's come out in the past, I'll say 4 years, I think they're starting to gain some market share back. They're doing some really innovative things. They're not just keeping with what everyone else is doing. They're making upgrades and doing things that are neat and exciting and kind of different than everybody else. On some of the new outboards, right on the top of the cowling, there's actually a door that opens up where you can check the oil from a dipstick without taking the whole cowling off.
Nice.
Yep. So it's great. How many times I pull a cowling off an engine a week.
Yeah, and then if it's not put back on right, you lose it, and those are not cheap to replace, apparently.
Oh yeah, like the Yamaha 300 cowling is about $2,300.
Wow.
So,
You take that down, haul over inlet, and see if that pops off.
Yeah. And that's only if it's not powder coated or painted.
That's just a standard old gray one. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and another thing like that Mercury's doing down right before the lower unit in the midsection, they have a actual valve there to drain the engine oil out. It has a barb on there. You put a hose on it, you crack the fitting loose, and it drains the engine oil right out.
Wow.
You don't have to suck it out of the dipstick or try to take off the side skirt and find the drain plug. It's actually right there with a barb on it. All you do is put a 1/2-inch hose on it, crack the fitting loose. Drains all the engine oil out. So,
Nice.
Just thinking ahead. So are they competitively priced?
yeah, they're actually on the lower end. I would say
And same
Yamaha.
power?
Yeah, and they're doing some things that are pretty neat too. On some of they have a new 300 horsepower naturally aspirated, so it's not a Verado, it's not supercharged. It's actually just a V6, just like the Yamaha.
Right.
And they actually have a captain's call exhaust on the outboard. So you put the exhaust out over the water or under the water. It makes it loud like the old power boat.
Sure.
Like every boat in the C&D Canal.
Yeah, pretty much. You go around there and mullets are back and
Yes. Awesome.
yeah, it's kind of cool though. I mean, it's stuff you haven't seen before. They're being innovative.
Right on.
Yeah.
So Are they doing that across the platform, or do you have to find a special Mercury to get the cool stuff?
So I'm gonna say for the most part, all the new 4-strokes that are any of the new stuff that's come out in the past couple of years all has like the drains, and even the small ones have the oil drains down there. It makes it real easy. But I think it's only in the past 2 years that they're starting to do the like trap door up on top of the cowling where you can check the oil and things like that. And it depends on the model as well. Not all of them have them. So, but pretty sure the new Verados have them, and some of the other new engines. So.
Right on.
So Honda's not a player in the outboard?
They are.
Unfortunately, they don't have much market, and they don't get me wrong, they build a great engine, right? But I feel like they kind of were just kind of complacent with what they had, and they're like, hey, we built a great motor. It's 130 horsepower, 200 horsepower, whatever the case was, and it was a great motor, and they didn't really try to make it lighter, faster, better.
Right.
They were just like, we can make a great motor, and kind of left it there for a while. And now I feel like they're starting to try to catch up.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe, it's that Japanese thinking, it's for, they wanted to do the 200,000 miles like the little Honda Civics do.
Yep. And that's what a lot of the motors were Civic motors turned on its end.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you see a Civic that lasts forever. Well, the outboards do the same thing. They might burn a little oil, but you keep oil in them, and they're
So the old Civics do, too.
Yep.
We had a couple of
That's what I mean,
Civics
like,
around my place.
Yeah, you drive a couple thousand miles, you got to do an oil change without actually draining oil.
Well, you're always getting fresh oil every time you check. So the engine's staying clean.
Yeah, it's staying clean. Just never have to drain it out.
That's right.
Yep.
That'll save you right there. You don't need an oil port. Just run the thing.
Yep. So.
All right, so.
And Evinrude is gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now Evinrude is gone. So.
I kind of like the idea of a 2-stroke in the market.
It's good for the bass guys, because the bass guys don't want to put anything heavy on the back of their boat. They're barely sitting above the water anyways.
Right.
I'm not sure if anybody's making a 2-stroke motor anymore. Mercury might be, but I'm not sure about that. So, unfortunately with 2-stroke too, you only one that could get it to pass emissions was Evinrude.
Really?
Because and that's how they were still able to build a 2-stroke. You're putting oil directly in and burning it. So in order to get it clean enough to go and pass emissions, that's the problem. That's why it's pretty much what forced 2-strokes out.
Yeah. That's the same thing on the motorcycles, on the race bikes, all going 4-stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah, even all the dirt bikes that were 250s, 2-strokes, and now there's a 450 4-stroke.
Yep.
Oh, yep.
That's what I raced. I raced 2-strokes back in the day. They were quick and light.
I did a lot of dirt bike riding myself as a kid. That's where I became mechanically interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You always have to,
riding dirt bikes.
yeah,
Because you got to keep them
Instrument
fixed.
stuff.
Yeah.
What's
especially
that?
if you took them to the races, you're always breaking something.
Yep. So it's where you learn how to make things work as well.
Exactly. You MacGyver it.
Yep.
Or you just don't use third gear anymore because you burn that out. I remember getting caught in a race in that, and it was a muddy track, and at first, second, nothing, no third, and then fourth. So like, because you need third, that's your torquey gear.
Yeah.
So I had to do a rebuild on that, zero part, get enough third gear in there. So. But it's like exactly what he's saying. You start as a kid, wrenching on your own stuff, and then it's guys like yourself, hands on, keep the trades going.
Yeah. If as a kid, you know, you go out, you ride a dirt bike, and it breaks, and you don't want to tell Dad you broke your bike.
Yeah, right.
Try to figure out how you fix it and get it home. And you know, where I used to ride, I mean, I could ride to friends' houses through power lines, and you know, I could probably get 20 miles on a dirt bike, and depending where you are,
Yeah.
you found a way to get home. So, yep.
So you guys do a lot of diesel work, also, obviously, right?
No, we don't do much diesel work.
Oh, just gas?
Yeah, we're mainly gas. Yep, inboards, outboards, stern drives. You know, with Bradley, we do a lot of electronics jobs and electrical work and things like that for them.
Okay.
So, yep, we don't do much diesel. I've done a lot of diesel work in my past, and you know, starting the company, I kind of wanted to focus on something, and I'm a lot more confident and comfortable with gas than I am diesel. So, you know, we didn't want to take on everything and be spread really thin for everything. So we really don't do diesel we don't do diesel engine work, generators, or air conditioners. We'll do basic stuff on them, but we're not getting into, you know, testing coils and things like that on the generator.
Right, you do the service on them.
Yeah, we'll do some service on them,
Right.
especially for like existing customers that have a boat with, you know, twin gas engines and a generator.
Right.
You know, I kind of feel obligated if they're like, "Hey, can you do this to the engines and off? Can you go ahead and change the oil and generator?" Yeah, I'll do it here. While I'm
Yeah,
here, you know?
exactly. While I'm down there. So, I mean,
Yeah.
do you have to do, what's it called, mechanic yoga to get in some of these boats?
Oh yeah. I've had to be drug out on my feet multiple times.
I bet.
Yeah, you dive in head first somewhere, and then you're like, "Uh-oh," you know,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if I can get out of here.
Exactly, and then you're missing the one wrench that you thought you had in your hand or in your bag, or it's like it's so tough to get back out to go get that stupid thing.
Yeah. You know you had it. You just don't know
you know
where.
you had it, but where the hell is it?
Right.
Fall down. You know, that's the other thing. We've been crawling around underneath some of these boats, and you have to really. It's like you understand plumbers, the same kind of thing, where they have to wiggle in places to fix stuff, tight places, you know, and down
Definitely.
below in an engine room, tight.
I've definitely stuck my arm down in some cup holder holes as well, and wondered if I could get my back out around my elbow area.
Oh shit!
Trying to reach something down the side of the boat and stick your arm way down that cup holder, and it goes in, but it doesn't come out very easy.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah.
You know, Mitch, one of our technicians, Mitch Manders.
Yeah.
Somebody asked him. I was around one time when someone asked him why he does boats, and he said, "Well, if you can see it, you often can't touch it. And you know, when you're fixing something, if you can touch it, you often can't see it. It's a challenge."
Yeah, you know how many times you do something blind?
Yeah.
You know, I think I could do a lot of things that I do, like, you know, as far as oil changes and spark plugs and impellers. I think I could do a lot of that blind if somebody really bet me.
Oh my God!
One day, me and Dave were joking about trying to do a drive service blind and see who gets done first.
Do it blindfolded.
Yeah, do it blindfolded. Whoever gets done first. Yeah. Because we were both like, I think I could do it. I'm just not sure how long it would take.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me the same thing. Like, why do you like working on boats? And I'm like, what else can you work on that has a propulsion system, an AC system, electrical, DC system, electrical, electronics, radar, sounders, you know, cables, shifters, you know, clutches. Yeah, you're never working on the same thing, you know, and that's what I enjoy about it, you know.
Right on.
You know, there's so many different systems on a boat, people don't realize it, you know.
Yeah.
Diode systems, transformers,
Yeah.
you know, generators, air conditioners, you know, and any of these one things, you could make a whole career out of any of them.
Yeah. They're complex.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So what's the most difficult to troubleshoot? Your electronics?
Electrical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because electrical can trick you. it can trick you a lot of different ways, and that's what makes it interesting and fun. I took the ABYC electrical course. Oh man, it's gonna age me. It was probably like 12 years ago now, but and it was just like getting started. I took it at Baltimore Community College, and like 80% of our class failed.
Wow.
That course is no joke. Back, I don't know. I haven't taken it in a long time, but it was pretty in depth, and it was good. I felt like I learned a lot in the course.
Were you working in the field while you were taking the class?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so you could do some hands-on.
In the class, yeah, you got to do a little hands-on, and a lot of it was code as well, which gets a little boring.
Sure.
But it was open book, so when they ask you a code question, you go in the book and try to find them. But
Right.
there's a lot of theory, electrical theory, and things like that. But it was a good course, and I definitely recommend anybody that's in this field, if they haven't taken any of the ABYC courses, as far as electrical and things like that, they do, because even if you don't pass, you're gonna learn a lot. So I think you gotta score above 80% to pass, but it's like a 300 question test at the end.
Good job, man. You passed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could you pass it again?
I don't know. I think if they just gave me the test, I don't know. I don't think I would be.
You still have the book?
Yeah, I still have the book.
There you go.
But
We'll give you an open next time we have you on. We're gonna have the book. And
No, you got to do it blindfolded though.
Yeah, and we're gonna ask you the
that's
questions.
not I think if somebody just rattled off, 20 questions to me, without studying and going through the course, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember at the manufacturing facility in Seattle with Meridian, I think a lot of manufacturers do this, but they build boats by folklore. It's like, well, you've been on this line so long, you do it this way. That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
There are engineering specs that come down, but how do you really do it at the plant, on the floor? And there was this one guy that was the electrical wizard, and he always was the one that would take any call or have to go out in the field and address a problem, because nobody else could get them figured out right, because they'd be, tricking. It would trick whoever would try to troubleshoot it. But there was one guy that was involved with, electrical wiring at the plant. Whether he did it or not, he was always involved and saw the final product from that perspective. And it's difficult, even at the manufacturing level, when it's going in the first time. Some plants make their own wire harnesses, some purchase them. What do you see that wire harnesses work best for you? Do you get into that detail?
Well, some of the manufacturers now have they make their wire and it's stamped every 12 inches of what it goes to. You get to one of those boats and you're like, all right, it actually has on there what it goes to. Kind of takes the guesswork out of it, instead of tracing a brown with a yellow tracer in it back at the engine all the way up to the dash, and hoping it's the same wire, and then testing it and finding out it's not. Things like that can drive you insane. But when it's marked actually what it goes to, it makes your life easy.
I bet.
You say that's all the newer boats are doing it that way?
It depends on the manufacturer.
Yeah.
But a lot of them have, it actually is printing on the jacket of the wire what it goes to.
Yeah, that makes it so easy.
Yeah.
And when you see this video, Justin, have you watched this?
I can't see what you're looking at.
I know. We look like vampires here on this video.
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting in
Sitting
the
by the
dark.
fire, man. Can't you tell?
It's like, for me, I'm like seeing myself. I look like I'm like Adam's Family. Adam's Family.
No, that's not how you look. But we could turn it. Yeah, we could sit by the fire. Let's see. Now the fire's going.
Yeah, there you go.
We could do pink
Well, the fire would be good.
or green.
I'm gonna take a drink and think about that.
Red. Oh, there you go.
So traveling to different boat manufacturing plants, what have you seen out there, Brad? Have you been to multiple or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all do it differently. Every plant builds their boats differently, even if it's the same brand.
Yeah.
So I think what I've seen that works best, I really like the way Albemarle did it.
Really?
Yeah. They had the most exacting and precise electrical setups, and you could get behind a panel and everything was so well labeled and probably stamped every 12 inches.
Yeah.
I would say that's a selling point for people.
Oh, yeah.
when it's done really nicely. I think most brands, they hide it.
Yeah.
That's just, I think Blue Seas is probably the most utilized systems. I'm not sure they're the best, but I think I see that most often in
Yeah,
our.
they're probably the most common.
It's probably the most common,
Yeah.
but I think companies that do it themselves and do it right are usually the best.
Yeah.
Albemarle did a great job in Cabo yachts.
Really?
Probably the best I've ever seen was Cabo.
Wow. Yeah, they were actually a Brunswick brand, aren't they?
Before Brunswick took over, they did a really good job with it.
Gotcha.
When you're independent and you stay passionate to one particular, driving motivation, I think you can stay true to your production goals.
Yeah, how you want it to be built.
Yeah, as opposed to an overarching, edict. And Brunswick, I think, exists. The boat companies exist to put engines on boats. They have so many engines that they want to build, and that's really their profit driver for their stock, is being able to sell engines at a profit, at a margin.
Yeah.
So they would buy up boat companies that they could put a bunch of engines on. And I think that was a big motivator for, trying to sell Sea Ray, but then deciding, well, we're just going to build 40 and less, or up to 40 feet that they can put outboards on, as opposed to diesel, and that's not another line of revenue for them. Everything at Brunswick is a line of revenue, and that happens with most big companies. Even their plants, their manufacturing facilities were lines of revenue.
Yeah.
So you would have 2 or 3 different margins added on before pricing even was established. So
yeah, and they actually controlled all avenues of that.
Right, and the goal with each one of those profit centers is to cut as much overhead as possible and increase margin.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening, especially with Sea Ray, is decontenting as much as possible, but still raising the price, because the brand connotation was significant and probably still is. I'm not besmirching anyone or any brand.
Don't be smart.
I'm not besmirching. I think that played into why their business fell off significantly.
Yeah, I can see that with any manufacturer is trying to increase cost or decrease cost, increase profit, but at what expense do you do that? And that's where I think the
reliability normally suffers.
Well,
the quality of the overall product,
Right, that suffers.
things like that. But,
well, there's a couple things I know in the boat industry. I've been around long enough to know that the way to success in boat sales is migration and repeat business. So manufacturers, in order to be successful, they have to bring people up in their product line, in the brand. You start out with a smaller boat and then you get bigger. So the other thing is there's not many people going into boating. I think that's changed over the past year. We've seen a spike in new boaters,
absolutely.
but by and large, that's not how the boating industry witnesses their growth. It's repeat buyers migrating.
Yeah, the only thing that I fear over the past year with all these people getting into the boating industry is that not knowing exactly what people are getting into, and getting in because they can afford a boat, and then they realize all the associated costs with it.
Right.
Is that going to drive people away from boating, or are they going to enjoy it so much to stay in the boating and stay in boating, or is the used market going to be flooded in the next 2 years with used boats going on the market? But I guess those are all things that we shall see over
We
time,
shall see.
right?
Yeah, but you just said that. I mean, the same. Every boat, you said it earlier, is that the used boat market is going quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so people are getting into it, and so because the manufacturers probably aren't keeping up with the demand, or they just are. They're only. I'm only going to do 40 boats this year, and that's it. And that's every year they've only done 40, 45 boats. And so, like you said, if demand is up for used boats, because they're having problems finding used boats too.
Well, I
But
think
it will
we'll see.
table out, won't it? You think?
Yeah, it'll equalize itself out. I think it's good that manufacturers aren't significantly raising their manufacturing numbers, production numbers, because it is a very fickle market, goes up and down. But I think you can train the market a little bit by being consistent with your production levels and pull the market as opposed to push it. Perfect example are the backhoves that we sell, the backhoves and sabers. They will keep a consistent production. They'll change the model mix, based on retail sales, which I think is a good thing, that they're connected to retail sales. But, I have clients coming to me saying, I don't feel pressured because you have a bunch of boats to sell, and if you don't sell them, then there's going to be issues. That's pushing.
Yeah.